Welcome to the annual Candidates Forum for the Sag Harbor School Board. My name is Stephen Coates. I'm with the Sag Harbor Express, and I will be your moderator this evening. I would like to introduce our esteemed candidates. I see Roxanne Briggs at the far end. Hello, Roxanne.
Hello. Hello.
Susan Kinsella, Susan LaMontagne, Chris Tice. I'm going to let each candidate have a 2-minute introduction. And then we will get into the questions, and we will give each candidate a minute to respond to each question. We've given the candidates each candidate gets 2 rebuttal cards, so if they want to take issue with an answer, they get a 30-second rebuttal. And then we'll have a 2-minute sum up at the end. And I would ask that the candidates try to keep to a succinct answer. But if you do go over a little bit, we're not going to chop your heads off or hit you with spitballs or rubber bands, you know. But try to keep it concise.
Is there anyone, a timekeeper like usual?
And we have a timekeeper right in the front.
All right, Jerry. So you can give us the 30-second warning.
So who should begin? We should probably start, how about with Roxanne? And let's make our way right down the line.
I am Roxanne Briggs. I've been a lifelong resident of the East End and Sag Harbor for about 30 years. I've raised my 3 daughters here, and my youngest will be graduating Pearson this June. I'm currently a real estate agent with Brown Harris Stevens. I owned and operated the Punch stores in Sag Harbor and East Hampton for over 20 years, they're children's stores, and I served on the board of the Hampton Day School Morris Center prior to its merger with the Ross School. I have a flexible work schedule next year, and it will allow me the necessary time and energy to serve the district. My work experiences are related to running my own business, and through my recently developed real estate career have adequately prepared me to monitor and understand the operations, budgets, and goal setting, and analysis, and important sustainability and accountability within an organization. Also, my children have attended many different schools, both public and private, here on the East End, and I would hope to bring a diverse and unique perspective to the educational and decision-making process. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan Kinsella. I have been living in Sag Harbor for 15 years. I was raised in Southampton, and that's where I graduated from school. I've been involved in this school district since my children entered. I think I started out as class mom every year and was PTA president a couple of years. I started participating on committees in the district. I was on so many, I can only name a few. The Budget Committee, the Shared Decision-Making Committee, the Facility Needs Committee, the Athletic Committee, the Long Range Financial Planning Committee, the Educational Facilities Planning Committee, the Policy Committee, and some more. I've been on the Board of Education for 7 years. I've been the board president for a year. I have 2 children in the district. One is in 9th grade, one is in 12th grade, graduating this year, who I'm very proud of. And I believe that my experience in the district, and I also have a financial background. I was a CPA. I was a financial statement auditor for Arthur Andersen. So that I think I bring, with my experience in the district, my financial background, and I want to actually emphasize the experience because it does take a very long time to learn everything about school law, how a district runs, New York State educational law. So I think that that is a very, very important ingredient in a leader in your district. Thank you.
Susan?
Hi, my name is Susan LaMontagne, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight, and I want to thank the PTA, the PTSA, and everybody involved in making tonight happen. For those who know me, I do own real clothes, and for those who don't know me, I've been a long-time advocate in our community for children's health and wellness issues. I've helped move and influence decisions related to wellness, school start time, in fact, school start time working with very closely with Chris Tice, who was instrumental in that, and most recently on the turf, raising awareness about the problems of synthetic turf. On each of these initiatives, I worked with a team of moms and dads on the turf, which I think, and that teamwork is really vital to making things happen. I've been in Sag Harbor for 16 years, 2 children who've been in the district since kindergarten. They are now in 7th grade and 4th grade, respectively. It goes by way too fast. And I think we've been very, very lucky over the years. Our schools are very special places. We've been fortunate to have some really tremendous teachers, exposure to some administrators who I believe really care about our kids. But I do think that our education system is facing challenges like never before. I think our children are under pressure that we've never seen before. I think the testing mania is taking away flexibility and creativity from our teachers, which isn't right. And I think we have a lot of unfunded mandates and challenges fiscally. Thank you. My professional experience, I work in communications across the issues of health, education, and the environment. So I work regularly with researchers who work on these issues, and I think that's a perspective that can be very helpful as we determine program and policy decisions moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chris?
Hi, my name's Chris Tice. I want to thank the PTA, the PTSA, the Sag Harbor Express for always being gracious to helping run tonight, and those who attend and those who are going to watch later. I have been a part-time or full-time member of this community since the mid-'60s. My dad was a public school teacher for 40 years. I come from a family of public school educators, so I spent every summer, I was so lucky spending every summer here, and then I was a part-time owner of or part-time resident for about 12 years, and then we've been here for almost 12 years as full-time resident. I've been on the Board of Education for 6 years, and I want to thank the community for voting for me and for putting me in that position. It has been an incredibly valuable and worthwhile endeavor, which is why I'm running again. It's a wonderful experience. Professionally, I currently manage the Montauk and Sag Harbor offices for a real estate company. Before moving out here full-time, I was an executive in publishing and new media. I was a senior vice president at Sony. I was a vice president at American Express and some other Fortune 100 companies. With those 20-plus years as an executive, I bring, I think, a portfolio of really valuable skills to this position, everything from project management to budgeting, planning, personnel management, community relations, communications, and so I think that that level of experience has served me well. Once I did move out to Sag Harbor full-time, I was involved, as Susan said, as a class mom. I was, what? Oh, president of the PTA. I have 3 children who have gone through this district. I have one who's in 8th grade, a daughter graduating, and a daughter who's a scholar student at Binghamton. And I just want to thank everyone for tonight, and I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you very much. I realize I neglected to come up with a plan for how we're going to actually ask these questions. So I think that what we'll do is we will start with Chris and work our way. Each candidate will get a chance. We'll just work our way down the line back to Roxanne and circle back around. So the first question is, the school board will ask voters to spend about $10.25 million to buy the former Stella Maris building and renovate it for use primarily as a pre-K, I understand. How will you vote on the proposition and why?
Well, thank you very much for that question. As a Board of Education member, it's actually illegal for me to tell you how I will vote and how you should vote. I can't share with you publicly and try to sway one way or the other. What I can urge you to do is to please come out and vote, and I can assure you that there has been a very thorough investigation of this opportunity. The Archdiocese came to us. It is the only other building, school building, in our district, and it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I urge you to go online and look at the presentation. It is very, very detailed of how the building would be used and developed, and it could be a wonderful opportunity for our children if the taxpayers decide to vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I first want to just say that in terms of a full-day pre-K, I fully support a full-day pre-K. It's something that Southampton offers. It's something that Bridgehampton offers. And in terms of the research, that is something that young people really need, particularly low-income children whose families probably can't afford to pay for it outside of school. However, I've had concerns about Stella Maris from the beginning. I think one of my concerns really is that will it take away from existing, our need to upgrade our existing facilities, as well as the fact that we've always had presentations on the budget, we're on a fiscal cliff, and I wouldn't want to see us lose teachers to Stella Maris. That said, those who say it's a unique opportunity, those who say that our facilities pale in comparison, they're absolutely right. But I personally, this might sound crazy, but I would really like to see if we can find a way to have our cake and eat it too. Is there a way that we can address these issues and do it much more cost efficiently? It's not really the purchase that makes me nervous so much as the renovation costs, which I think seem to be outsized, and I think would be worthy of looking at doing it another way.
Thank you.
With regard to Stella Maris, I do think the board made the right decision in bringing the vote to the community. I think it was an opportunity that we should not pass up. With regard to it being daycare and pre-K, I think that would be a valuable program to our community. I know that we lose people because we don't offer a full-day pre-K, so if we can wrap a daycare program around our pre-K program, I think it would be successful. Hopefully, if the community chooses to purchase the building, and I just hope that we can make that program work. Thanks.
Though Stella Maris is near and dear to me, 2 of my 3 daughters spent 4 years there, from nursery school through kindergarten. And so I have many fond memories there. I'm not convinced the taxpayers' money at this point should be put towards it. It is not just the cost, but the renovation, and after reading the engineer's report and going through the expenses of it, I think it's close to about $10 million, and I just am a little hesitant at this point in time I would be hesitant myself to be in favor of the purchase of Stella Maris.
Thank you.
You guys want 30-second notices on the
I'm going to ask an audience question now. Should there be term limits for school board members? If so, how long should someone be allowed to serve on the board? And for incumbents, are you willing to step down rather than seek re-election? Why or why not? And I think,
So do I start?
Susan, you start.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting question for somebody who hasn't even served on the board yet. I have heard a lot of talk that term limits could be a good way to fuel more people through and get fresh perspectives, which is good. On the other hand, I also think that having people who've been around a while and have a long-term perspective and a historical view is also good. So I think that I'm going to relay, I'm not sure until I would be on there if I can really make an informed decision on that question. But I think it's something we should certainly be talking about, and I know that on the East End generally, not necessarily Sag Harbor, we are seeing school boards that have people who have been there for a long, long time, and it's not necessarily a good thing.
Thank you.
Can you just repeat the question?
Yeah, it's a long one. Hang on. Should there be term limits for school board members? If so, how long should someone be allowed to serve? And for incumbents only, are you willing to step down instead of seeking re-election, and why or why not?
Well, there are term limits. You serve a 3-year term and then have to be re-elected. So
I'm talking about like a limit of, say, 3-year terms or 4 3-year terms before you have to step down.
Well, it's an election process, so if people think you need to be, I think the community should make that decision. I think let somebody run as long as the community thinks they're doing a good job. You also have to appreciate that there's a learning curve when you join the Board of Education. It takes you a while especially if you haven't been involved in the district, to learn about the district, to learn school law, to gain historical knowledge. So I don't see any need for that. And I served a 3-year term in 2006 to 2009, and then didn't run again because that was my choice. But sometimes people do it anyway.
Thank you.
I was just curious if it wouldn't have to be a New York State rule. I don't even know if you'd ever have the option to set terms.
That's a good point.
I think I would have to agree with Susan that if, there's very few people who seem to run for school board elections. You have many where that no one even goes against the incumbents, and so I think if there's an election and you want to run as many times as you do and no one else is running, I think that's only fair.
Thank you. The next question will go to...
Can I answer this first, though?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right.
Hi.
You don't have to, but I don't think there should be term limits, because I do believe that the community has the right to either vote you in or not vote you in. And one of the years I ran, there were 2 incumbents running and nobody else. So this is a hard job that takes an enormous amount of time. And there's a very limited number of people that are willing to do it. So I think you'd have years where you might not even have enough people running if you had the terms. It's interesting, the New York State School Board Association is the leading organization that helps kind of govern and direct and guide school boards across the state. And when they have best practice articles that come out, there are articles about school boards where you have members that have been there 10, 15, 20 years, and they talk about the importance of historical information, but also long-term planning and long-term vision. So there's a huge benefit to the community to have tenured people who have the experience and have been doing this for a long time. It is a very complex role to serve, and it takes time to get good at it.
Are you done?
I could say more if you want.
The next question will go to Susan Kinsella. Sag Harbor has recently renewed its contract with Sagaponic and signed a new deal with Waynescott to allow parents of those districts to send their high school students to Pearson instead of East Hampton High School. Do you think the school district should continue to look for tuition revenue from other possible feeder districts?
Absolutely. We almost have to. If we don't find new ways to generate revenue, we're going to eventually have to start cutting back either on program or certainly on staff. So you always want to seek new revenue. That's just our new reality.
Thank you. Roxanne?
I completely agree with that. I also think bringing in kids from other school districts is a good thing. You meet kids that you didn't know before, opens up your world socially, but I think the revenue is extremely important, and it's extra money without a lot of expenses connected to it. Yes.
Thank you. Chris?
First off, I want to say I'm very proud of our school district because people on the entire South Fork want to come here. We have tuition students from Southampton, East Hampton, Watermill, Sagaponic, all over. And they send their kids, parents pay to send their kids here beyond the contract agreements we have. And we've been strategic about it and kept an eye on it to make sure that it doesn't have a negative impact on class size, on programming, and it really has enriched the school, and we're one of the only schools on Long Island. We've been under the tax cap without cutting, but actually expanding programs year after year, and this is one of the ways we're able to do it. So I'm all for it.
Thank you.
I think it's a no-brainer. I agree with what all the other candidates have said on this point. And the only thing I would caution is that I hope that as we do that, we're just very careful that we don't become sort of an institution that's kind of leaning toward serving those people who are paying versus the people who are from our district, who frankly, who also pay, but through their taxes. So, but I think it's been great what the district has done on this, and would absolutely encourage not only collaboration on this, but hopefully collaboration in other areas in terms of extracurriculars and so on.
Thank you. Now, next question goes to Roxanne, correct?
Yeah.
Have I got it right?
Yes.
As a board member, would you advocate for a review of the district's existing cell phone technology policy? This is an audience question. Our children's attachment to social media and screens is alarming and making them anxious. Would you advocate for limited to no use in school?
I would absolutely advocate for limited use in school. I would say not no use, but I'm finding that I repeatedly get reports of kids in the back of classrooms, and frankly, teachers are not there to discipline your child about using their phone repeatedly. I think that unfortunately, a lot of the kids don't have the self-discipline to keep the phone away. So I'm not sure what the discipline would be, but there has to be some kind of rule about cell phone use throughout the day, all day, in classrooms, out of classrooms, in the hallways. And that's it. And I also think that the cell phones can also potentially create a problem of kids going to the bathroom during testing and using their cell phone to access information regarding their tests and then going back to the classroom. And I think that that's another problem with the cell phones. So, there you go.
Thank you. Chris?
As a board member, I actually advocated for this specific issue to be evaluated and addressed. And last year, the Shared Decision-Making Committee at Pearson actually evaluated and made a recommendation to the board based on, my urging and the urging of several other board members. I think we have to continue to reevaluate it. It is an issue, not just in this school, but I think in schools across the United States. I think that there should be different rules for different age children as well. There's a difference between a 10-year-old and an 18-year-old, and we have to not only evaluate how our students are using their cell phones, but as a district, how are we communicating with students using texting and cell phones. So I think it should have a more thorough review than we've done so far, and I would advocate for that in the coming year.
Thank you.
Thank you. In following up on Chris's remark, I was one of a number of parents who raised this issue publicly and asked for the policy to be looked at because a number of us don't feel that the policy on the books is a real policy. It was not an easy thing for the school to grapple with because the pushback, interestingly, came primarily from other parents who want their kids to have their phones. I think that as a community, we really need to sort of have some forums and look at these issues. I work with researchers on kids and media use, and there's stuff that is really alarming there. Those screens are the equivalent of drugs. They are addictive as drugs, and they are changing your child's brain, and we really have to take, I think, a much tougher look and stand, and we think we have to do it together because I think it's a cultural shift we need to be prepared to make.
Thank you.
Yes, we did push that issue to the shared decision-making, but in addition to parents wanting their children to be reachable, a lot of our teachers wanted them to be able to use their device as a source of information. They can go and search for information. So there are, and it does depend on the age group as well, but there are teachers that like the use of these technological tools in the classroom to add to the resources and improve the educational value of the class. So I thought leaving it up to the teacher, it was the right decision.
Thank you. I've got a number of questions here about consolidation, so I'll try to create a single...
Consolidate them?
Yeah, consolidate the, right.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. That was
Don't stand. I could cut your microphone off. So I think, just give you a second here.
Okay.
I'll make it quite simple. There's been a lot of talk about consolidation in recent years, and I'm wondering what your viewpoint is on what the landscape on the South, what the educational landscape on the South Fork will look like, say, in a decade.
Right. I certainly think we should continually be in ongoing dialogue with our surrounding districts to explore this. I went to a forum in Southampton this past year where there were some experts locally and from BOCES talking about it, and the challenge is that 70% of all districts that pursue consolidation, it gets voted down. The state has not enabled a structure in which to make it easy and accessible. So it's still very hard to happen, but we're going to continue to face pressures financially, and we have to continue to work with our surrounding districts to see if that opportunity makes sense, and we should be a leader doing that.
Thank you. Susan?
Yeah, this is definitely an area that I would like to see us be a leader. We're already seeing on the North Fork, there are two districts up there, Greenport and I believe Southold, who are sharing a superintendent and saving a lot of money that way. There's also, our kids out on the East End don't have a lot of the opportunities that kids up Island have. And I think that the only way probably to provide those sustainably is to share and partner with other districts. So just as an example, if your kid wanted to be on a math team, maybe they would go to Southampton. If your kid wanted robotics, they would come to Sag Harbor. If your kid wanted to do a literary magazine, they might go to East Hampton. It's just a model something to explore and think about. But on that point, I actually worked for many years in Washington. I come from not only communications but political background, and I would like to see us work more aggressively with Albany to try to address issues up there that will help us down here. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
Yes, I think in 10 years' time, you're going to see more consolidations. As we continue to share services, I think that we're going to find more and more ways to consolidate our districts. And anyway, we're going to maybe share busing. We're going to maybe share classes. It's whatever is fiscally smart to do, we're going to do it, and gradually we're going to just merge, I believe, over time, because we'll continue to increase the amount of shared services we have.
Thank you.
I, too, think consolidation is the wave of the future. I think that they'll have to be careful with the travel time and logistics. Consolidating with Southampton is probably not realistic, but with Wainscott, Sagaponack, and Bridgehampton, that is probably a realistic model. I think the revenue generated by that would be extraordinary. Thank you.
Thank you. It doesn't look like the tax cap is going away anytime soon. What experience can you bring to the table to help the district fashion a budget that meets, or at least comes close to dealing with the constraints of the cap? And it's Chris, is it?
I went up last.
Nope.
First last time.
Susan, sorry.
Okay. I think what I could bring is sort of out-of-the-box thinking, which I think is helpful. However, the good news on the tax cap is if anybody who watched the budget workshop last night, and so helpful that they're on video, there has been some great news. I think that Jennifer Buscemi and the administrators have done a really terrific job. We're under the tax cap yet again, and that's projected for the next 3 years, and I believe these terms are 3 years, so good so far. But I think it's something that we have to constantly be creative and looking at ways to do that. I think that the most realistic ways to save money are in contract negotiations, but I think we need to sort of be creative, and I think that sort of addresses the consolidation question and sort of shared services approach as well. So that addresses that.
Thank you.
With regard to just maintaining our budget within the cap, we're going to have to continue to do what we're doing, and that is to generate revenues, increase shared services, be as prudent and as frugal as we can in contract negotiations, and generally just keep on the road that we're on, because we're going in a good direction. We're pretty financially healthy here.
Thank you.
I watched the video last night as well, and thank you for putting them on videos. I think that really is quite an asset for the community to be able to watch them. Saving money is probably something that I learned how to do my 30 years in business, looking over budgets, cutting back on anything from supplies to making sure everyone is being as productive as they can be on the job. I also think that getting the outside tuitions from the neighboring schools would just keep, you'd want to keep being proactive on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The question was what experience we bring to the, okay. I bring 6 years of experience of coming in under budget and delivering better programs. So some of those things that we need to continue include continuing to expand how we're working and leveraging our relationships with surrounding districts, whether it's saving money through transportation or the increased revenue streams through increased tuition and contracts, or the very fiscally sound way we're approaching every single nickel and dime and dollar, so that our bond rating, our Moody's bond rating, has been upgraded twice, saving over $345,000 for this district in a short period of time. So there's a variety of ways in which you can continue to find those pennies, nickels, dollars, et cetera, so that you can come under the tax cap and still protect and expand your academic program. So we've been very creative. There's no subject we won't look at and explore. We look under every rock. We talk to every potential partner. And I think that I bring a wealth of experience to continue the fantastic road that we're on.
Thank you. And here's a sort of a follow-up question. Assuming no matter what you do, you can't make the budget fit under the cap. So where would you make cuts if forced to make cuts?
Am I first this time?
And Susan's first. Susan.
Where would I make cuts if I was forced to make cuts? I guess you'd have to look at classrooms where you have more than one teacher in the room, where you have, TAs, I guess. Because there's a lot of school districts that don't have the same number of TAs in the classroom that we have. I would first look at saving money through attrition. Probably, if somebody retires, possibly not hiring somebody new. And then failing that, you'd have to look at where you might have extra staff.
I don't know enough about the employee benefits, but one of the things that I was studying this week was the employee benefits of Sag Harbor versus the East Hampton High School. And I noticed that our benefits here appear to me to be much higher than what they are in East Hampton. And the only thing I could think of potentially was if there was something within the health insurance premium or something, raising a deductible instead of your visit being X amount of dollars, $10, maybe you could pay $15 when you go to the doctor's, or some little thing. I know personally I've changed my deduction every year and saved extraordinary amounts of money, and that way every personnel is contributing just a little bit without sacrificing the curriculum and the education. I mean, that was just one study I had done. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. First of all, just so that everybody knows, NYSHIP is a statewide medical program. We don't have any control over what the deductions are they set or the parameters. So just to make sure that everybody understands that that's not a rock we haven't looked under and tried to find money. I am not convinced that we're going to have cuts as we continue to move forward. I think that our strategy should be to continue to reach out and work with surrounding districts. And if we have to start sharing more, I would rather have a shared program with a surrounding district than cut a program. We've already done that with several programs, so I think we need to be more creative in reaching out and sharing, but I'm not convinced that we are going to have to cripple our educational program under this tax cap.
Thank you.
I really liked that answer. I think that in addition to that, I would I think the first thing I would want to do is hear from the administrators about what they suggest, what they recommend. But I think, obviously everybody up here the ideal world would not to be cut anything and to somehow do backflips and stay within the tax cap. So I think that would be everybody's ultimate goal, and I don't think anybody wants to cut. We want to keep programs, and we want our kids to have a top-notch education. education. I think that's why we're here. Thank you.
Thanks. The next question would go to Roxanne. There's a known drug problem on the East End of heroin, prescription drugs, pot. Some parents are opposed to bringing in drug-sniffing dogs. Would you support bringing in dogs? And if not, how would you suggest the district get involved in addressing the drug problem?
I think that drug-sniffing dogs should be allowed. As much of an invasion of privacy it is, I do feel there is a problem. And a dog coming in now and again and sniffing around, and if he finds something, then the person who has those drugs, you're potentially saving his life or his future. And unfortunately, it's the society we live in, and drugs are one of the drugs are a terrible thing right now in our children's lives. And so I would be for the drug-sniffing dogs, yes.
Thank you. Chris?
I would be opposed to drug-sniffing dogs, and if you want to read about it, there has been research done, both in New York State and throughout the United States, of school districts that have implemented it. There has been no long-term improvement in the health of their children by bringing dogs in, and what it does do is it creates a barrier of trust. And so we're not looking to create a barrier of trust, we're looking to create a deeper connection with our students, particularly those that are fragile. So I think we need to do more, not just as a school, but as parents in a community. This is a community issue. It's not a school issue. And that means that in every corner of this community, we need to have programs and outreach to parents and children of all ages to make sure that we are reaching out and that we have the support services they need. I also think we need to have more recreational activities so that kids have fun things to do out here. It's tough. We don't have roller rinks and all sorts of other things that you have in most other residential communities, and I think that we need to really explore what else we can provide for our children.
Thank you.
So I again endorse everything Chris just said. I actually wrote an article for the Sag Harbor Express quite a while ago, I think maybe almost 2 years ago, on this very issue. And in fact, the school board did vote to allow the dogs, and I was vehemently opposed. Based on seeing just online comments from parents, I felt in the minority. I think we feel very afraid, and we look for solutions, and I just don't think that it is one that is helpful. And as Chris points out, and as also is in my article, the research bears that out. It doesn't work. But I want to jump on this issue because I think this is very, very important. We have a school start time issue that could help us with our drug problem. There is clear evidence that when kids are chronically sleep deprived, if they have to go to school too early, they don't feel good. It's the equivalent of being hungover, and then they seek to medicate themselves. So this is, I think we need to, there's no question there are issues of trust, and I think we need to look at out-of-the-box issues like the school start time that can help and has research behind it that can address things like substance abuse.
Thank you.
No, I would not support having the drug-sniffing dogs in the district. I would want to go with the school, the community, families working together to know what's going on with their children, to look for the signs, get educated as to what these drugs look like and what they can do and the behavior that they should recognize, and work through the problem that way. I don't think the drug-sniffing dogs is the answer.
Thank you. So the next question will go to Chris Tyson. I think since we raised the issue of later start times, we'll jump to that. This year, the school district, I believe it delayed the start by 15 minutes, I think was the... 10 minutes. 10. Is that sufficient, or can more be done?
Well, I was a big advocate as a Board of Ed member in exploring this issue, and we had a series, I don't know, 6 or 7 meetings. I went to every single one because I'm really committed to trying to find a way to push the start time back. It is not an easy situation. We have, when you're a small district, all the way out here, it's pretty complicated. We're sending students for after-school extracurricular and athletics to now three different districts, Bridgehampton South and East Hampton. We have to align with BOCES start times for their programs, and so it becomes much more challenging, but I think the issue needs to be reopened, and I will work tirelessly to try to find a solution that works financially and for our students.
Thank you.
Well, I think the community is probably pretty clear on where I stand on school start times. It's been an issue that I've been talking about for many years, and we did manage to make headway with 10 minutes last year, but it is not enough. It's not nearly enough. A couple points on this. One is that there are a couple of schools in our sports league, in our district, that do start later than we do, and somehow they make it work. Two, there are schools all across the country that are moving their school start time later because they are convinced by the research, which is clear and irrefutable, and they are making it work. And no, they're not losing sports. No, they're not losing after-school jobs. They are figuring it out. Three, there are schools that are moving their start time later, not only at no cost, but some districts are even saving money. And finally, it is true that, and she was at every single one of those meetings, and I missed one, so I'm just going on the record, that there are, because of the challenges district-wide, one of the things that actually Chris and I have talked about before any of this is pulling together multiple districts out here. Oh,
That's for later.
can I add for 30 seconds?
Can't rebut yourself.
Okay, really quick, is to bring multiple school districts together to do this. That's been done in Massachusetts and in Maine, and literally as a group they shift. And so I think that might be the wave of the future here. We can make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, obviously, late start times is the ideal situation, and we should always look for a way to do that. But as Chris pointed out, there's so many parts of the equation that it's a difficult thing to do. BOCES would have to be on board here, and we would have to get other districts in the area to work together to make this work. And it's always wise to keep looking for it. It is the ideal. We should strive for it, but you know, hopefully, I know we've tried to find a solution, but it hasn't come to us yet.
I think a later start time is incredibly important. There's a sleep deprivation that I've never seen in all my life among the kids, and my daughter in particular. And I just don't know how you make all the moving parts work, but I would do whatever it took to try to get the later start times through academic, maybe shortening academic support a teeny bit, or I just don't know. You know, trying to get athletics all with the other schools, I just know it's very complicated.
Thank you. Going back to an audience question here. We have a somewhat diverse student population, yet most of our minority parents do not participate in Board of Education meetings or school events in general. What do you propose we do to include this important group for a more inclusive school environment? Susan?
You know, I think East Hampton has actually addressed this issue very well, and they've had an outreach coordinator, bilingual efforts in terms of outreach. You know, I think a great place to start would be to find out what they've been doing, because I've been hearing great feedback from the community out there about it, and to see what we can make happen here, because they shouldn't be left out, and we need to be as inclusive as possible.
Thank you.
I think on a one-on-one basis, we do reach out to those members of the community. We're a smaller district, and we probably have a smaller number of these people, so to do something bilingual may be a little harder for us, but we certainly should strive to improve any type of communication.
Thanks.
I would say look to them and ask the people that want. I would say for diversity, you would want to try to bring in certain sports or activities that they might be looking for. That's a tough one. I'm sorry. Don't know the answer to that one.
Chris?
First, I want to correct the question because there is no population that comes to the board meetings, minority or otherwise. So I just don't want that to be an inaccurate piece of information floating out there. But you're all welcome. Any height, any color, any religion, just come, please. It'd be nice to see actually live people in the room besides the board members and administrators. Anyway, first of all, we do a lot of things. So I don't want to leave the wrong impression with that question. Since I've been on the board, we took several steps to actually improve relationships with the minority community. Everything from our forms and newsletters and the communication going home being bilingual, so we have it going home in Spanish. We changed our curriculum, particularly in the high school, so we now have bilingual that's subject-based. So if English is your second language, you now can get help by someone who's a specialist. We have Spanish-speaking help in both buildings. We have a teacher's assistant now in Pearson Middle High School. We hold meetings specifically with administrators and those that have English as a second language. We have parents come in to specifically hear what their interests are to help them onboarding into the school. So there's a variety of things we do. I'm sure we can be doing more, but I think we've made great strides in the past 5 years.
Thank you. I think the next question starts with Susan Kinsella, right?
Okay.
Am I
Yes.
on it here?
Yeah.
If the district was able to provide a full-day pre-K program, would you support a district-funded model or one where parents pay for the second half of the day as is outlined in the Stella Maris proposal?
Well, we looked into the full-day pre-K quite thoroughly, and the additional expense didn't make sense. You have to then provide rest time for them and recess, and there was not a huge educational part, and there was a huge expense to it. So I would favor the wrapping the daycare around the half-day pre-K, because it's you still have your pre-K, so you're capturing anyone in the community that wants to attend pre-K, and then you'll have your full day for those that can afford a little extra time if they need their kids to stay at school while they're working.
Thank you.
So that's the model I prefer.
Roxanne?
I'm in favor of the half-day pre-K because I think it is more affordable and it makes sense from a revenue point of view. And it certainly is the second half of the day. I think it could be affordable or more affordable than a lot of the private pre-K that are out here that are privately funded. So I'm in favor of the half-day pre-K.
Early education is critically important. It creates a path to long-term success for students. So we added, during my tenure on the board, we actually added pre-K, and I would ideally love to see all day. Unfortunately, in the tax cap circumstances, we can't do it. However, what we've heard from parents of young children in the community is that several cannot send their kids to our pre-K now because they cannot pick up their child in the middle of the day. So what they're telling us is if you could have a daycare for the second half, then we can have our children come for the pre-K in the morning and daycare in the second half, and they would be in the district for the day. And so that would really avail a much larger population of students for getting that early education that so helps them on a path to success. So I think that's the right direction we need to go in.
Thank you.
I trust that, the school looked into it and made a financial decision. However, again, I want to come back to the research on pre-K and who benefits the most, and that tends to be the low-income children, in other words, the families who cannot afford to send their children to pre-K. So in my mind, I know that Southampton provides full day. I know that Bridgehampton provides full day. I would really like to see us find a way to do that. If barring that it just doesn't work, then I think at the bare minimum we need to find a way to somehow make it work, at least for those families who wouldn't be able to afford the other half, and make that available. Maybe families who have the means can pay the other half, but those who don't, I just think we have to make it work for them. So that's what I would push for. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will go to Roxanne. Sag Harbor has been a leader in special education services, including early intervention, and I believe classes in the elementary school, or classes in the elementary school as well. What ways would you like to see special education improved or expanded if necessary?
I am not familiar on that topic, so rather than not answer it correctly, I will refrain from answering the question.
Thank you.
I'm really proud that one of the big initiatives this year was to bring in a larger, more expanded program into our district, and it has been very successful. We had young students, babies, going an hour and a half on a bus each way to get to programs, and we have brought many of those programs in now, and that not only benefits those children who are becoming integrated more within our student population, but are also the students that are here that aren't part of those programs now have very positive interaction with students on the full spectrum. So there's a benefit across the board. I would be for continuing to explore ways to make that program even stronger. I think if you can deliver the right programs within your own buildings and your own community, it benefits all children.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that there has been a lot more in terms of services offered here, which is great, and I think that is a good goal. However, I've also heard from parents who have children with special needs who need certain things, and they have raised issues to me. So I would love to see us have some kind of forum and talk to them about what it is that they feel that is missing, or what in particular. I know one parent has concerns about sort of evidence-based help for children with dyslexia, for example. So those kinds of things, just exploring what our children need, how we can best provide it, and definitely, I think, continuing to integrate within as much as possible.
Thank you.
Yes, as Chris said, we have just recently expanded our program. We hired additional staff to deal with some of the younger, more challenged children, and we are building on that program. So we're already there, and it's a good thing because we just are reading that CDCH is potentially closing, so we might get even more children back into our district, and it's just another reason to keep expanding that program. So I think that's the direction we're headed in anyway.
Thank you. Chris gets the next question. In what ways can the International Baccalaureate program be expanded so it's attractive to more students? And do you believe that the district should try to bring in students from other districts who might be interested in pursuing an IB diploma?
Well, currently, we have the IB diploma program, which is the 11th and 12th grade. The great news is we are expanding it into the middle years, which is 6th through 10th grade, and that will be launching in the fall of 2017. It's a multi-year process to get your staff trained and to apply and to get it kind of accredited. But we are expanding it to the middle school years, and I think that's going to even better prepare our students to go through the diploma program. In terms of attracting other students, we are attracting other students from other districts. So, we welcome any student from any district to come and be part of the school. So I think it's already available. But we're hearing great benefits from students who have gone through the program. They're telling us that they are much better prepared than some of the other students are going to college with. So I'm really confident that it is creating a better path to success for students, whether they're going to college or out in the workforce.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have been thrilled to see our school district pursue IB and have heard great feedback. It's very exciting when we heard about the first group of kids to graduate. The only thing that was flummoxing to me was I never understood why we introduced it from the older kids down. From common sense, it would be younger kids up. However, that issue was raised, and I understand that recommendation comes from the International Baccalaureate program. So I still would love to hear their rationale, because it just doesn't make sense to me. You'd think you'd start younger and then you move up, but supposedly they recommend it the other way, and that's done. I know that people have been thrilled with the staff who have been implementing the program, and I've heard great feedback from teachers who have gone on their professional development sessions with IB, and so I think critical thinking skills, it's what it's all about. It's what our kids need no matter what field they go into, and so I think it's great to see that growth can continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you just repeat the question, please?
Yeah, I sort of paraphrased it anyway, but what, what would you do to expand the IB program to make it more appealing to more students, and would you open it to other school districts as a possible tuition-type program?
You'd always open your program to tuition students. That goes without saying. But we are doing what we need to do to expand that program. That, you know, getting the diploma program on board and really working really well now. Now we're training more of our teachers, and that's what we're going to have to continue to do, train more and more of our teachers so that we can offer more and more classes and more options for our children in the International Baccalaureate program. But what we're doing, we're on the road. We're just have to build the best program we can build, and we already know what we need to do, and that's mostly training. And that 6 to 10 is going to prepare those kids so well for the diploma program. It's going to be awesome, and all of our kids are going to be better prepared for college.
Thank you.
I too was a little confused why it didn't start down and up, and someday I hope to get the answer to that. My daughter just finished, she'll be getting her IB diploma in June. It was incredibly challenging, and I noticed that I think it was a board member of the East Hampton High School commented in the paper last week that one of the things that was going to be his goal was to try to make senior year more challenging in East Hampton. Well, I don't think this year could have been more challenging for my daughter in the IB program. I also think it helped her in her resume for the college application process. It was superb. I think the teachers are absolutely amazing, and I really credit them for learning a new program on top of everything else that they have to do in their day. They really should be commended. So I would say just keep on doing that, and I would completely before having other children from other districts pay into the IB program, and that would be a great draw.
Can I add one more? Can I use the
certainly
card?
may.
I also want to mention that we're saying IB diploma, but the majority of our 11th and 12th graders take at least one IB program, and IB program class. And all the research shows that if you challenge a student to take an advanced class in high school, even if they don't do well in it, they have a significantly higher likelihood of succeeding in college because they're learning to deal with rigor and the base skills of how to challenge themselves at a higher level. So the majority of our students in 11th and 12th grade are finding that course or two or three that they love if they're not doing the diploma program, and they're really all benefiting from it and being much more prepared.
Thank you. And about, Susan, you're the next question, right? Is it Susan LaMontagne?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
No, I've lost track.
I keep forgetting. Obviously not an IB candidate here. There's a lot of talk about STEM and with science, technology, engineering, and math. And what about arts and music? Are we doing enough in those areas? And if not, what can we do to improve?
Well, first of all, I think Sag Harbor's theater program has got to be one of the best ever. Years ago, I brought my mom to Chicago, and she was sort of, "You bringing me to a school play?" She walked out of there, "Oh my God, I had no idea this is like Broadway." Like, I think Pearson's Theater is the best ticket in town, and if you haven't been to one of their shows, you have really missed out. I also have heard amazing things about our fine arts program as well at Pearson. So my children are not yet at that age, so I haven't personally experienced, except for sitting in the theater and loving it. So I think we're doing an amazing job with the arts, and I know we're doing well with robotics. I do think that when the district threw out the ideas of STEM and Culinary Institute, those are very intriguing ideas that I would love to see us talking about more, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
I think we do a great job with our arts program. We have more art teachers than other schools that are bigger than us, and we've kept that program going. As Susan mentioned, our theater program is amazing. I remember bringing my husband to the Addams Family, and at the end he looked at me and goes, that was like almost professional. It was so good. So we work really hard at maintaining our arts program. The board has always supported it. We have IB Arts. We have IB Music. So we are following through in our curriculum and with extracurricular clubs, etc., for the arts. So we do a great job.
Thank you.
I think with the implementation of the IB Younger Years program, I think a lot of that learning is project-based, and I think that will also incorporate the arts if someone would like to be studying history and be doing a diorama or all that can be brought in. But I think the after-school programs, I think what Mr. Solo does is incredible. The trip to Cuba, everyone had the opportunity to volunteer their time in making that incredible opening at the Whaling Museum, and I think that he's always looking for ways to get kids to come in and volunteer their time, and with incredible art projects. So, and with the drama and the after-school clubs, I think there's lots of opportunities.
Thank you, Chris.
Our performing arts programs start in kindergarten, go all the way through. If you come to morning program, you see kids of all ages performing, whether it's song or dance or musical instruments. So it's really remarkable that we have kind of I've gone to some of the pre-K performances, they're so cute. But from pre-K all the way through, and it's not just on the stage acting and singing. We also have phenomenal musicians. We have many who go on to become professional musicians. We have students who are, I'm sorry? Okay. We have students who perform at all levels in the state, so we really have a very enriched arts and music program, and I'm proud of it, and it serves our students well.
Thank you.
Could I use a rebuttal
You
card?
certainly may.
But I'm not rebutting. I just want to add. So I just wanted to make one point on the art thing, because I think it's important. Our 7th graders right now do not get art. And when you move from the elementary school, which has an incredible guitar program, they move up and there is no guitar. So we have, it's true, I think what everybody said is right, and we have great programs, but we do have gaps. We have some places where we're missing. And for example, we have our 6th graders double up on math class. I don't know, is that really what's best for our kids? So I would like to see us have some of those conversations and see if we can plug those gaps. Thank you.
Thank you. Just keep hitting you with demands for more and more. How about technology? The economy is moving, the high-tech economy is upon us. Should we offer more classes like coding and that sort of thing? More technology classes? I think Susan is.
Is it me?
Yep.
We actually have added a coding club, and Katie has implemented some STEAM in K through 12. She's adding, I forget the name of the program that she has in the elementary school, but she implemented a program there and in the middle school and high school. So she's working on that, and it's a great addition to our current curriculum.
Thank you.
I think any addition in the technology department, I am shocked at the lack of technology in so many schools. I asked my daughters this once, and they said, but we know it all. We teach it all to ourselves. But I do believe the job sector, the coding, I was reading an article the other day, it is the one job sector that if you are a coder, you can get a job. And they are starting it in preschool. Mm-hmm.
Like Suzuki coding.
Yeah, I kind of was a little interested myself.
As a board member, I've been a huge advocate for STEM-related curriculum, and so we have now coding in the elementary school, coding in the middle school. In the past 2 years, we've added AP Computer Science and IB Computer Science. We have robotics, and this past year, we had a middle and high school Cyber Patriots Club, and in fact, the middle school went to, qualified for like a semi on the state level. So there's been an enormous amount of progress in this area. I think we need to do more. Knowing how to use a cell phone and a laptop is not the same as being prepared for high-tech jobs. My daughter's going to the Rochester Institute of Technology as a computer science major next year, and when we sat through the presentation there and heard that 97% of them have jobs before graduation, and many of them are paying six figures to these 22-year-olds, get your kids to code. That's all I can say. So I'm proud of what we're doing, and we should be doing more.
Thank you.
Yeah, I watched, in fact, I was one of the parents with Bridget Fleming and a few others who had urged the district to add coding. Bridget actually brought my son and her son up island, again, opportunity up island, and so we were thrilled that Katie was so open to bringing it here, and it's a start. But I do think we do need to do more on that. But, you know, I think everybody has answered this question well, and I don't disagree with what anybody has said. So I just want to sort of add one other point that's a little different from STEM. While I totally agree, and jobs and income, and it's great, I also think we really need to think in a bigger picture, are we really going to prepare all our kids to move to Silicon Valley? And I also want, as we think about our education system, I also think we need to think about our local community and the kinds of businesses that we support here, and our kids who might be wanting to take over their parents' businesses, and those are different kinds of businesses. And so I just think vocational training and those careers have been lost, and I think we shouldn't ignore that. Those are really valuable careers also. And I don't know, last time anybody, I mean, it's not easy to get a plumber unless you've got Schiavone on speed dial. So I think that we need to address both.
Thank you. Here's a question, an audience question. Our 4th and 5th graders have science fairs, and then it stops. Do you think middle school and high school students should participate in a science fair?
Yes.
It's Roxanne.
I think it's more important in the older years, in a funny not more important, but equally as important in the older years. And I was shocked because my daughter, that is her major is science, and it was sad when this science fair stopped. I know I looked to other schools and I would read about them in other schools, and I know we can't be all things to all students, and there's only so much time in the day. But it was a huge disappointment not to have a science fair for the older kids here at this school. It really was.
Thank you.
The middle school used to have science fairs, and I'm not sure if science fair is necessarily the right context, but I do think that there should be more programs to engage and ignite kids' interest in science. And I think this is a category that would be interesting to look at with surrounding districts, that maybe there's a program that could be a little bit broader, some science clubs, some things along those lines. So I'd like to look beyond the fair, because fairs tend to be a singular event. Sometimes the parents participate more than others in those creations. But so I think I'd like to look broader at those programs and see what can we do to really engage and get more kids excited about this.
Yes, and I don't know about you, but I think when President Obama does a science fair at the White House every year, and I remember every time I see the news coverage about it, the things the kids are doing there, which are not to be believed, I always say, well, wait a minute, how do our kids get into something like that? So I think we absolutely need to look at, I'd love to understand why they don't have that. We need it back. And I'd love to see our kids on a track where some of them can go and compete at that level.
Thank you.
We as a district have a summer science program that attracts even students that go to private schools that live in Sag Harbor. It's available to anybody that lives in the Sag Harbor district, and even children that go to the private schools will attend it because it's such a great program. And what that does is it does keep our children interested in the Intel competitions. We've had several of our students compete in that competition and do really well. So certainly if we don't add a fair, we should continue to grow some type of science competition program, and maybe even partner with other districts or build it with other districts so that you can attract the science, I don't know how many science geeks we have, but you attract the science geeks from the area and get some kind of a program going that supplements the Intel competition excitement.
Thank you. This next one will go to Chris. And I get we can move outside and take a stroll along the green turf field. So the current the plans for the turf field are on hold. As I understand it, the bids came in too high, and now it's back before the facilities committee. How do you think the district should proceed? Abandon it? Press on?
We need to do something different with our fields, because what we currently have is not enough and not sufficient to have, athletics and just a safe environment for our kids to engage in athletics. It currently isn't really on hold. What the district has done is hired a third-party expert to do an evaluation of all the options, what the options are, the cost, the impact, and then share that with the committee, and then there'll be recommendations that come to the board. There'll be public forums for the public to get engaged and participate in the dialogue. But the priority first is to do something that is going to be safe and healthy for the children, that is financially sustainable, and that is going to create a better environment and better facility for our students. So we're looking at a variety of things, including do we leverage some of the fields here in the elementary school, so we're not just a one-field school district. So we're exploring all the options. So we're not on hold. We're actually moving forward to try to find the best solution for your children.
Thank you.
Turf bad, grass good. Yes, I totally agree and believe that we need to have great sports fields. In fact, if Stella Maris was a sports field, I couldn't get it fast enough. Without question. This issue, Diane Hewitt, who's here, first raised this 3 years ago, and I was a compadre with her then. Was really glad when Jill Maznicki raised it again this year. And even though I work in environmental health, when we dug further into the research, even I was so alarmed at what I learned about what's in these fields, and to be honest, I can't believe they are in any school, let alone a school where we only have one field. So there's no question in my mind. In addition to that, if we get rid of the turf, one of the things that was discussed is that we could redo both the high school and the elementary school with organic grass. And by the way, there are organic grass experts out there who have volunteered time and all kinds of expertise to help us with this, and rehabilitate the elementary school all-purpose court, which my children call Alcatraz, so I guess that could use a rehab, and save money. So I think it's a no-brainer, and I would love to see us move forward quickly on that. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, take the call.
Is there a coder in the house?
The common opinion is that we should not risk installing a crumb rubber synthetic turf field at this point, as we're uncertain of the safety. So we did hire someone to look into other alternatives. And since the community did already pass a proposition that said they did want to install a turf field, and we're not proceeding with that because we didn't have enough money to do it, we are going to still offer the community a choice. The facilities committee is saying, let's leave it up to the voters. Let's offer them a choice of this other stuff, turf field with EPDM. It's made from manufactured rubber byproducts. It's 100% recyclable, sustainable product, and it is user and environmentally safe. So give them that, I don't know how much that's going to cost. We don't have that information, but offer them a choice. Do you want to do this, or do you want to have grass fields? Let the voters decide. And I think that was a smart decision. So what the board does, I don't know yet, but that's what the facilities committee is suggesting that the board does.
Thank you.
As it's the only field at Pearson, I think it should be grass, no synthetic, potentially dangerous turf. Unlike many other schools where they could have it way off in the corner, a turf field or some kind of synthetic, I think given the fact that it's right outside the back door of where people are having lunch and cafeteria is, that I would not have anything but grass and irrigation, and possibly there are savings. I don't know what the survey says. One other idea that I thought of was where Stella Maris was. In Sag Harbor, I do not believe in the village there's ever been the use of community preservation funds, ever, of a purchase. And potentially could that be the purchase and turned into a field there? Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I use my second rebuttal card?
You can use your second card.
Okay. I'm not rebutting anybody here, but I think it's important to point out with the synthetic surfaces that this school was told 3 years ago that the material they were considering was safe. A lot of these synthetic materials were told by companies they're safe, only to discover years later that it's just not the case. So if we really put our children's health and safety first, all this synthetic stuff should be out, and we really should be looking at grass. And there's a lot of great resources on it through the petition that over 600 people signed. And when we say that the community said they wanted a field, I don't think the community was given all the accurate information, nor was the board, in fairness. So we have that information now, and I think we really need to think twice before putting a synthetic field on our school grounds. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a bill in the New York State Assembly to freeze school taxes for senior citizens after a certain age. Are you in favor of this resolution becoming a law? Why or why not? And I believe it's Lamont, Susan, it's your turn, right? No, I think it's Chris answered you started the turf, so it's.
So it's me. Okay, I'm sorry. So repeat that. So there's a bill freezing taxes
State
for
Assembly has a bill freezing
senior citizens.
property taxes for senior citizens. Would you support it becoming law? And if not, why not?
Well, I think it depends. I would need to know more about it. I do know, however, that with our budget, there are star exemptions that are possible. And in fact, if you watched the budget workshop from yesterday, Jennifer Buscemi mentioned that those, I believe there are things that are happening, that those will increase dramatically for seniors. So that is great news. You know, I get very nervous whenever something comes from somewhere over there, like Albany and Washington, and sometimes it's very well-meaning and it sounds good, but then when it comes down to practice, it doesn't work so well. And I think we have a lot, as a result, a lot of these unfunded mandates or restrictions that really cause problems. So I would want to look more at that bill specifically, what the impact would be, hear from our financial people on it before taking an official position. But obviously, keeping taxes low for our seniors is something we absolutely have to do, as well as our small business people whose incomes fluctuate. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that if you want to give someone a break, give the people that can't afford it a break. If the senior citizen is really rich, why not let them pay a little bit more than someone that doesn't have so much money? I think I would say no, I'm not in favor of that, because we have a pretty affluent population out here, and although some are on fixed incomes and they should be given a break, absolutely, there are others that aren't and don't need that break.
Thank you.
I noticed at the board meeting when she was giving the budget, it had something to do with people getting the refund if they made under X amount of dollars. It was actually quite a high number, under $275,000. But I am absolutely for giving the senior citizens a tax freeze. I think that if you're on a fixed budget, so it would be the same thing, I would be all in favor of it if their income were under X amount of dollars. Yes.
Thank you.
Similar to what she had discussed. Yep.
From what I've read about the legislation, and I think it's still kind of in its infancy, there is yet to be a description on how it gets funded. Because guess what? The school district and the municipality still need the same money. So if some people get taxed less, then they get the extra money from everybody else. So they haven't really figured out that second piece yet. So before I could say I would advocate for that particular legislation, I would want to know how it actually gets funded. I am in favor of the STAR, you know, I like Susan's idea of that. You know, if somebody is low income, then maybe whether they are senior or not senior, then perhaps they get the break. because that just seems like it's helping those that need the help. And in our community, the majority of those that may need help are probably seniors. I would add, though, that if you look at this year's budget and last year's budget, we came in under tax cap, and with the STAR, it was basically a no-cost increase, and we don't have the final figures from the county right now, but it looks like this year with the STAR rebate, it will be a no increase again, give or take $7 or $8 for the year, if you own $1 million house. So I do think that regardless of what happens in Albany, we've been working hard to create that environment fiscally here for everybody.
Thank you. It is 8:30. We started a little late tonight, but so I want to ask at least one more question if we have time, maybe two more, and then we can sum it up. Here's another audience question. Our Pearson cafeteria is really sad. What are your thoughts on improving the kitchen and offering more healthy choices? Taxpayers already subsidize this in part. Should it just be a market? Your thoughts? Susan Kinsella?
Well, we're limited here by the resources of our kitchen. So I think that we have made quite an improvement over what we were serving in the past, because our kitchen help is really creative. And hopefully with the renovation, we'll get a little bit more equipment to work with in our kitchen and make even more improvements. But you have to remember that you can only do so much with what you have. And we're not spending an extraordinary amount of money on the kitchen because we're keeping our money focused on other areas. So we're doing the best we can with what we have.
Thank you.
Maybe if there's savings on the turf, they could put it in the kitchen. I think that the cafeteria needs a major renovation and a major overhaul of the food offered. I also believe that outside of that kitchen area could be improved to be an area where kids might want to go. I know that that in the spring and in the fall, there's no real shade. Maybe I just think that's the whole kitchen area and the outside area needs major help in making it more attractive to kids. It is a closed campus through 11th grade, and I think that I know most of the kids, and my daughter being one of them, they don't find the cafeteria at all attractive, so they just eat in their classrooms, and they never leave the school building the entire day, and I don't think that's really healthy for them.
Thank you.
Since I've been on the board, I've seen a major improvement in our cafeteria, in the food that is served. Just so you understand that in Sag Harbor, we have a more self-funded cafeteria program than just about any district on the whole East End. So when you have, and we do contribute, the district does contribute a little bit to it, but it's almost entirely self-funded. And so, and we are confined by state regulations on how much you can charge for your meals and your food. So you have that challenge along with the facility itself. I'd love to see a better facility. We are still needing to operate under the tax cap, so it's easy to sit up here and say, let's spend more money on every idea that ever comes up, but we are continuing to make improvements on there. And if the public decides they want Stella Maris has a more full-service kitchen, and that would be an added benefit to adding that to our district if that passes.
Thank you.
Well, I make both my children their lunch, including my 7th grader, because he has no interest in eating the food at the school. I know that we have heard for a long time about the limited facilities, and I get it, it's not easy. I just would like to see us show more of a commitment to real nutrition and be more creative. We've got all kinds of resources out here. You've got food trucks, and so I just would have liked to see, or would like to see us play with some ideas that could be completely out of the box and completely different. And in fact, for example, we always hear about reasons why we can't do something. Bridgehampton apparently has just started a farm-to-table program there. So, I don't know why we can't try something similar here. Nutrition is an incredibly important thing, and and I agree it's got to be within cost limits, but I think we need to be able to, we need to show a commitment to better nutrition.
Thank you. And I think we probably should sum up because everyone gets 2 minutes, and I don't want everyone falling asleep in the seats and all. But so, 2 minutes final summary, and it's Roxanne again, correct?
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. I feel that if I were elected, I would bring a fresh new perspective to the decision-making process and to the district in general. I would like to support and endorse the high-quality programs for the students and the open communication with the district staff, parents, and the community. I think that I would also be one of the only parents who does not have a child in the district any longer, and sometimes that creates a little bit of a good perspective as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
I'm a passionate advocate for public education and for supporting every single child. On my term, my 6 years on the Board of Education, we've expanded the curriculum, the extracurricular, and come under the tax cap every single year. The added programs include the International Baccalaureate Program, additional STEM programming, the special needs and special education programs that have been brought in. From a fiscal standpoint, we've not only come under the tax cap, but we instituted zero-based budgeting. Our Moody's bond rating has been improved. We've increased our working relationships with surrounding districts, which has saved money and brought new programming and new students here. And I've also been really focused not only on transparency but communication. I was a big advocate recommending to videotape meetings, to get more documents online, to have more direct communication and leverage more platforms in our communication like texting and phone. So I think I've made a really positive impact on the district and on the children and their education, and I hope that I continue to get that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and I also want to thank and commend everybody up here for a great discussion, and also our current board members who I know put in an incredible amount of time, and I don't think they're thanked enough. And I actually wrote a piece last year commending them on all the great things that they have done, and they have. In terms of improved communication, I know many of us are really appreciative that the emails have started coming out saying upcoming events. So I think when things go right, and many things do, we need to say thank you and we need to applaud that. But I'm running because I really wanted to bring attention to some important issues facing our children. I do think the board would benefit from having an advocate for children's health and wellness on the board. I think as we face all the stresses and the challenges facing kids in education today, I think that those topics need to be front and center as we move forward. So I hope that if you support me, I would love to be a voice for you and your children on the board, and I look forward to continued discussion on these issues and working together to strengthen our schools and ensuring sustainability for many generations to come. Thank you.
Hi, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight as well. I wish more people would come, but it's wonderful to see some of the same faces all the time. I would hope that you all would support me, because I'm really excited about some of the things that are going on in the district. We have a lot of construction projects that is going to really upgrade our district, and we also are, I'm really excited about the Milieu program that's going to really make us a better academic school. I'm excited about the additional support we give our students that are preparing for college. We now hold advisory seminars for them. We didn't used to do that. We now sponsor college fairs. We used to do it maybe once. Now we do it several times. We now provide SAT classes for all our students. We used to make them pay for it. So we are going in such a great direction. It's a good time to be on the board. I'm excited. I want to help supervise this process, so and also to help and support any type of shared programs we might be able to work on with other districts. So I will do, if elected, I will do my best to ensure all these programs and the possibilities for our children are achieved.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the candidates, and thanks to our lovely audience and everyone out in TV land.
Can I, hold on? Please show up on the 17th. Please ask your neighbors, your friends. When you look at the number of people who voted over the past 10 years, there's been some years we've had 2,000, and some years we've had 850. And the more people that show up to vote, the more the results represent what this community wants. So I implore you to please get all your friends and neighbors and family to come and show up and vote. Thanks so much.